We are just in time. I think we may exploit 5 extra minutes, given that we started 15 minutes late, if our hosts allow us to do that. So I will open up for questions. Please identify yourself and maybe indicate which is the speaker you would like to refer the question, if any, of course. So we have one here. Maybe we collect 2, if there is a second one somewhere. So let's start with
Stefan Kabalec, Capital Strategy, Warsaw. I would like to comment the last presentation, and it's actually very close to my observation, but there are some differences. First, I think that unit labor cost is a good proxy for competitiveness, provided there is no change in labor force. Because if you have big change in labor force, especially if you shed 15% of labor force, usually you shed those workers where relation between wage value added and wages is the worst. That you have automatic, yes, you have automatic improvement in unit labor cost. It has nothing to do with improvement in competitiveness. And Spain is actually a good example concerning, your thesis concerning southern countries. Because in Spain there was no diminishing of wage costs. Actually wages, real wages increased significantly during the crisis, while labor force diminished. And of current account improved, and Spain has current account surplus, but it is not sustainable. You would have improvement in competitiveness only when you would have situation when at natural level of unemployment you could have a current account balance. And in Spain you may expect that if demand is higher, you will have higher import and deficit again. Thank you.
Maybe Marcello to answer.
Okay, thank you. I completely share this criticism. In fact, I didn't have the time to enter into some technical details on our equation. In fact, we introduce a theta vector in which we analyze the dynamic, the components of this vector are the same components, the same independent variables in the equations, and we analyze their cross-sectional average in order to try to control for some, how do you say, extreme changes in these variables. And obviously, in our mind, the main reference was to the Spanish case. We had a dramatic decrease in the rate of employment in the Spanish case due to the international financial crisis and real crisis. Hence, it was quite obvious to have how do you say, a rebound in terms of increases in the labor productivity. So you are perfectly right. I'm not sure that our device is sufficient to meet your criticism. Nevertheless, I can state that we were conscious of this problem. Thank you very much for your comment.
Okay, thank you. So there is another question, Cinzia.
I have a question for Francesco. It's about optimum currency area and synchronization. As you said, we did some exercises aiming at measuring the degree of synchronization of cycles. Actually, there is now new literature looking at different ways in which you can measure synchronization. And one common result across all the different methodologies is that Italy is the country with a higher degree of synchronization.
With the euro?
With the euro area. Now, for me, this is rather puzzling. If I believe the optimum currency area, this would mean that Italy actually is in a position where the benefits are higher than the cost of having the single currency. Well, if I look at the reality, the judgment may be rather different. So I think there are two explanations. One is there are other things going on, and we are mixing up the monetary union effect with other issues, or we have a puzzle.
Okay, I cannot answer everything, but I can tell you something that puzzled me. Some time ago, I was asked to look at the issue of convergence and divergence, and with some co-authors, we looked at the Krugman specialization index, and we looked at the value-added shares in GDP for every, I think we did the Euro area countries. Now, the result were stunning. We took a long perspective of about 30 years, and there was a steady decline in the share of industry and manufacturing across the Euro area, starting already well before the launch of the Euro. This share of manufacturing dips at the time of the Great Recession and then recovers somewhat. So, industry and manufacturing account now something like around 23% of value added in the Euro area. But the share went up in Austria and Germany, steadily declined in Spain, France, plummeted in Greece, and so forth. And guess which country is almost always around the average? Italy. Despite everything. So Italy is mirrors the Euro area average in manufacturing. So that must mean something. It accounts probably for some of this synchronization that you found. Now, going back to my presentation. Now, some of the slides I didn't show. The gains from undertaking institutional reforms and product market reforms are in the range of 5 to 10% of GDP. These are staggering gains that Italy could reap, and so could Greece and perhaps Spain from reforming. So these things should be explained.
Thank you. Well, I think that if there are no urgent questions, we should be closing the session to let Clemens give the closing remarks. So let me thank everybody for participating in this session, and please, Clemens.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I will be brief. We're approaching the end of this conference. I think this was a great start for EconPol. I have learned a lot about ongoing research, not least in this session. I've been part of many controversial, interesting, inspiring debates. I think I have learned there's a lot of potential for working together, improving the EU. I'm not sure whether I'm more optimistic now as regards you just mentioned it. I tend to be on your side here as regards progress on EMU reform, but we shouldn't forget there are many other areas where things need to be done. So let me conclude by thanking all involved in putting together this conference, the EFO team, all network members who put together these sessions we attended, like the session that just ended. So many thanks to all of you. I would like to thank all participants for coming, engaging, and being part of this debate. I would like to invite everybody to give us feedback on things you would change, do differently, things that have come to your attention about this event. And I would, of course, invite you to stay in touch with us and attend future events. So I would like to wish you a safe trip home and enjoy the weekend. Thank you.